Hello, I'm Chris.
And I'm Matthew.
Welcome to the Still Wondering podcast.
We are two brothers in our 30s trying to figure life out. So come and join us for a wonder. Hello and welcome to episode 32 of the Still Wondering podcast. I hope you've had a good little hiatus. We have as well. I know you've missed us, all three of you watching. But yeah, it's been a little while, hasn't it?
It has been, but we've been busy.
We have.
We went to Morocco.
We did.
We went to Fes.
Let's share that.
Let's talk about Fes. Something about Fes.
Let's talk about Fes, baby.
You and me. Something else.
Yeah. That's the only letters on
and
other, yeah. and beats. So it's the first time I've been away with your mum since we went to Italy, probably. Which would have been...
What, Rome?
Yeah.
2008, 9?
Yeah, one of those.
Blimey.
Yeah, that's the last time I went with... Yeah.
Yeah. This was one... Mum was very keen to get away, get some sunshine... And I'm always keen to go away anyway, and you were available, so let's make it happen.
And we did. And you booked a DAR in Airbnb. Just how did you find that DAR? I'm curious.
It was on Airbnb.
Right. Hey, there's nothing wrong with it. It was. We got there, and it's like you're walking through a slum. When you arrive, we walked through a slum. There were cats everywhere. It smelled funny, and there were poor people everywhere, from what I could discern. And it sounds really bad of me, but that was kind of the first impression: was where the fuck?
Oh, absolutely.
Have we got this Airbnb? But when we got inside, it was actually like, wow, there's actually quite a lot of space.
Suddenly palatial.
Yeah.
In the way it was. Yeah, I mean that was the thing. It was. But perhaps I could have better prepared yourself and Mum actually for, because I looked at different options and there are not that many hotels, and there are certainly no hotels, I don't think, in the Medina. So you either stay outside the Medina in more like a hotel, or inside the Medina, kind of in the thick of it, and that's where most of the attractions are. So, yeah, I kind of looked it up, and actually the DAR we stayed in, I in my brain. Me being me, I'd sort of worked out what was nearby, what the route is, where we go to if we get lost. But the pin was really unreliable. The DAR wasn't where I thought it was. Which you'd think, okay, no big deal. But the Medina is just crazy. It is like a maze.
It's a labyrinth. Was it 9,300? Depending on who you spoke to. There's 9,000-ish alleys
streets and alleyways.
Densely packed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really... things aren't that well sort of signposted. So when we arrived and we were met by somebody near one of the main gates, Sharif Square, I think it was, something like that. Yeah. Reef Square. And then he walked us to the accommodation, and it was just bewildering.
Well, when we were doing that, I was like, we're never going to find ourselves back here. Like, how are we supposed to leave here? I felt a little bit kind of overwhelmed with it all, and I was like, oh God, what have we let ourselves in for?
Yeah.
So yeah, it felt a little bit like shit. How are we going to deal with this? But I think the first night was cool. We had some mint tea when we arrived. We had dinner. Zaki was our host. So yeah, the Airbnb kind of came. Did all the Airbnbs come with hosts? Or was that just like one of the...
most of them do. Yeah, it's a thing. They have like a Riyadh or DAR manager that acts as like concierge and
point of contact,
keeps you happy. And to be honest, a place like, if you're in the Medina, you kind of need it.
Yeah, I don't know how we would have survived without. I mean, I'm sure it's possible.
Yeah,
with a lot of exploring,
it would take a lot longer.
Yeah,
because I'd say I was settled in like day three-ish. I started to go, right, okay, I can get from here to there. That gives me something to play with, and then it was working out. Okay, well, if we just take 2 more turns, that gets us like onto the main streets, and then the main street then opened up kind of like the rest of the Medina in a way, or not the rest of it, but the main
you can use
part.
that as your point of reference of like, okay, if I can get back onto that street, I can get my way back to there, which means I can get back to the DAR from there.
Yeah. In that sense, going for a week was worth it, because you need those days to acclimatise.
Yeah, acclimatise and orientate yourself.
Yeah.
Because when we were there, you're in, it's not an over-exaggeration, they're literally tiny little alleyways, like wide enough for 2 people and a cart, apparently. Yeah. 2 people and a mule, That's how wide the alleyways are. They're just wide enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything's done through donkey or mule or cart. Like with the rubbish, there's no blue bin,
Yeah, the
black
bin man
bin.
came past, and it was a mule.
It was a mule
with two
big bucket on its back, and they just go along and chuck it in there. So
yeah, that's absolutely insane.
Including all the stuff the cats have ripped open in the meantime.
Yeah. So we arrived and there was like a cat, and I was taking a photo of a cat. Oh my god, there's a cat. And we walked a little bit further. Oh my god, another cat. Like by day 3, it's like, yeah, there are cats everywhere. I'll stop taking photos of the cats.
Yeah.
It didn't stop me actually, but
Yeah.
still, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an experience for sure. But the first day, like full day there, we had a tour guide take us around and sort of give us a whistle-stop tour of the Medina, the places to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what were your first impressions of him?
Well, very good. He came met us at the Dar. He was very polite and very nice. He said, "What would you like to see?" And I said, "Well, the tanneries, obviously," which is like, well, yeah, you've got to see the tanneries, and the university and the mosque. And he said, "Oh, and you just trust me with the rest." I was like, "Yeah, cool. Sounds good."
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was good. He was informative. He wasn't going into like too much detail, because there's always a risk with tour guides. Sometimes they're just like date after date after date, just throwing facts at you to a point where you're like, I'm not taking any of this in anymore. So it's quite good, and we saw some key things. Took us around some key things, which was good.
Yeah, we saw the metal district, didn't we? We saw the tanneries. The only two that stick out at the moment.
There was like
they're like districts he showed us, and then like highlights.
Like the dyeing street where they dye the wools and
that was really cool.
Like that.
That was really cool.
That was good. And it's all it's very kind of authentic in that sense. It's you go around the Medina and there's a street which is dedicated to certain things.
Like a little mini industry.
Yeah, one will be dyeing your clothes, and so they have the vats and they're washing the streets, and they've got everything happening right there, the whole process. And then you go down another one, it'll be like mobile phone alley. So people would go down this street to get their mobile phone, and the next one would be watches. They go to shoes, etc., etc. So I think you can find literally anything you could ever want.
I think so.
In this, and then he took us to show some weaving in a carpet shop.
Yeah, so this is towards the end. We'd done the main kind of walking around bit. They went to a carpet shop. So we're going to see my friend in a carpet shop. Okay, great.
Oh, we're going to have a break. Because I was like, we need a break soon. Okay, we're going to have a break soon. Thinking we'd just sit in a cafe and take 10 minutes. Okay. No, the break was in a carpet shop.
Well, we sat down at sofas, met some friendly people, and it was a carpet shop, but I didn't clock they were about to have a piece of theatre thrown in front of us. So once we sat down and started having tea poured, we were chatting to this other guy who, just out of, he was wearing brand new jeans, shoes, jacket, like he looked pristine. Apparently he wasn't getting paid to be here. He was doing it out of the goodness of his heart to help women get on their feet. It all went to this women's charity. It was very, very admirable of him to do that. Although he did seem to, for someone that doesn't actually work or have any financial investment in it, did seem to be a bit of the person that was sort of calling all the shots.
Oh yeah, he was the boss. Without doubt, he was the boss. Like, yeah. As soon as I saw those sofas, I was like, okay.
Twigged.
I'd recognise those from places we've been when we were kids.
It took a few more beats for me.
You see those sofas and you go, oh yeah, that's where we sit, and that's where they're going to roll out the carpets.
Yeah. Which is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
It was almost like we had this like casual chat. He then told us about what he does and stuff, and he did it in a very kind of slick way. And it was like sales mode, like, right.
Yeah.
These two guys were then just rolling out carpet after carpet, like, do you like this one? This one's made of this, and this one's very popular in this, and this is blah, blah, blah. And there must have been about 20 carpets rolled on top of each other.
Yeah.
15 to 20 carpets. And then it was quite clear after carpet number 2 that we weren't going to buy anything.
Yeah.
But he persisted and sort of said, right now, as we roll them away, just say, speaking to our mum, she was kind of the power decision maker he had discerned. Just tell me when. Well, actually, no, that isn't why he selected Mum. He selected Mum because he probably got the feeling that Mum was wouldn't say no as it is, you or I. So he was wrong there. But yeah, so then he said, say no to every single carpet you don't like as we roll them back up again.
Yeah.
It's like, no. Do you want this one? No.
Yeah.
I don't want any of them. No, just do it. Every single one. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. No.
Repeat,
It just makes you feel really bad.
Repeat the negativity. And this was after you commented on what such good boys we were, you know, being away with mum and
Yeah.
we must, you know, love each other and hold on to each other very much and this sort of thing.
Oh yes, because that was this visit to the carpet shop. He's step back in time a second. Before he went to the carpet shop, he said we need this break, and then he kind of went. Our guide then went into this whole story about him losing his mother and feeling, and just all this kind of emotion to the point where I thought he was like very close to crying.
He seemed to be, yeah.
Yeah.
He seemed to be wiping tears away. So it was very touching, but it was also slightly odd.
It's quite depth.
To go to when we'd been walking around for, I don't know, like an hour or whatever. But you know, okay, take it on face value. You think,
Yeah.
oh, that's a very sweet. Thanks for sharing. And
Fast forward 10 minutes. We're now in a carpet shop being told this narrative of we donate money to women who don't have any family or friends to look after them. And those are the people that make these carpets. It's like, oh, this was a bit of a setup.
and maybe
You're planting the seed.
or are we just skeptical?
Oh, I don't buy it. They're smart. They're smart, man. Like,
I have to say,
I spent enough time there to go, okay, they really know what they're doing.
I agree. Because
Yeah.
then the carpet shop clearly in charge of it. There's no way he was there as a volunteer out of the goodness of his own heart. He was calling the shots in that place with all the staff and he went down a similar line of talking about being good for your mother and sort of getting to a place of emotion. I think it's to unlock your emotional side,
your blackmail ability.
Receptive. Thing is, we're quite stubborn, and I'd like to say reasonably savvy.
Yeah.
There was no way we were buying a carpet.
No.
I didn't actually like any of the carpets anyway, so that was
I'm going to put a carpet.
a big factor. Yeah. So,
Who has carpets anymore?
Yeah.
Like that kind of carpet.
yeah,
You go to IKEA and just get something that looks right.
that's right. Geometric shapes on and
Yeah.
funky stuff.
Probably just as much money.
Probably.
But I'm not going to put that in my case.
Yeah.
So that was the carpet shop.
That was the carpet shop.
And that was the first of this next half of the tour where we were basically going to every single one of his friends.
You went to a place with a loom. So it's a shop with a working loom in it.
It was brilliant.
This is so...
No, sorry, hold on.
God.
We're walking to this shop and we hear this clack, clack, clack. And it's like, oh, what are that noises? So as we're walking in, we keep coming to this noise and there's a guy that's got this, apparently 100-year-old loom. And he's making this scarf from it. And there's another guy saying, the shop's been in my family for generations. This loom's like an ancient loom. And this is how we make the scarves. And the shop almost solely sold scarves and material stuff. So he's explaining it all, and I just, after he did the little pitch about the loom, I then started looking at the loom, because I was fascinated about how it was working. I then figured it out. I was like, that's really smart. So I stopped watching him do his thing. And I spent like a good five minutes sort of looking at this and taking videos and stuff. And then we started looking around the shop, and I picked up this scarf, and it just looked like the pattern didn't look like it was made on the loom. I think I pointed out to you or Mum and sort of said, that wasn't made on that loom then. Because that's a completely different weave. And then we're looking around and Mum's chatting to the sales guy, and I then we sort of split three of us around this little shop. And I think you came over to me and said something like, oh, it's gone quiet or something, or I can't remember what it was, but I then noticed that the loom was no longer in action. He just kind of stopped working.
Yeah.
I think we made a bit of a joke about it and then thought nothing of it. And then a group of tourists came in.
With their guide.
And then they went, clack, 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 clack. And it's like, oh, this is theatre.
Showtime.
Yeah.
Showtime.
And it was at that moment I realised, well, yeah, of course, there's like over 1,000 scarves in here. It can't possibly be made on that one loom, especially if he's taking half-hour breaks.
Only working when tourists enter the establishment.
So it's basically a massive piece of theatre to sell you a story to then buy a product which wasn't made on that. It's probably imported from China or made at a local other place.
Yeah. Factory, which may well be in Morocco,
Yeah.
I mean, Mum nearly, she was tempted.
That's something she found that she liked. But yeah, we didn't buy anything from there either.
No, and whilst we were in that shop, the guy had just sat down out of the way, and in the carpet shop he disappeared.
Yeah, he
Wasn't with us at all. And again he was sat sort of part, and I said to him, "Are you going to get anything?" And it's like, "No." And the way he said it was a bit quiet and a bit reserved, which was a slight change from how he'd been up to that point. Okay. And then I heard you asking me the exact same question, and again it was a bit quiet, and yeah. And then it was after that stop, there was something about his demeanour that seemed to change.
He got a little bit sharper, didn't he?
He got a little bit sharp, a little bit, and there was.
Because you mentioned, go on.
I said there was a guy that was coming up, and you sort of in single file. It's busy, and you're kind of filing through.
It was the guide, you, Mum, and me, sort of in single file. Yeah.
But a guy come up to Mum with trying to sell her wallets. And
5
she
wallets.
said, "No, thank you, no, thank you." And I think like 3 times.
Yeah.
And then the guy just seemed to have a go at him. There was an exchange. And the guy was walking off, and they were still going back and forth, and it sounded a bit.
It was a bit like, oh, you know, what the fuck are you doing? You're doing us a bad name. Oh, fuck you, I need to earn a living.
Yeah, something like that.
It was kind of like, oh, you want some, and this kind of thing. And it was kind of left at that.
And I said to him, you know, the moment passed, I said to the guide something like, I can't remember exactly what.
What was said?
Yeah, what was said, we telling him off or something like that. And he said, "It is not necessary for you to know." And just kept walking. I was like, okay, all right, fair enough.
And from that point on, I attributed his mood to that interaction.
Yeah.
Was my interpretation.
Yeah.
We then went to a perfume shop.
Yeah.
Went in there.
A natural pharmacy.
Oh, is that what they called it?
Yes.
All right.
Where they had an argon grinding thing and some kind of machine.
Getting the oil out, yeah.
This is how argon's made. That took like a minute of like, oh, okay, interesting.
Mm.
And then we were sat down again and brought out.
Basically, we went through the whole trolley.
Yeah.
This is this soap. This is made from this. This is the slightly more expensive version of this thing. Here's an oil. Try this cream. We were trying all this stuff out. And she was pretty good about it. She didn't feel like hard selling or anything. The mum was interested in a couple of soaps, which were like, I don't know, the equivalent of £6 for 3 or something. And the girl, mum asked to do like a deal on the figure, and the girl said, no, it's, you know, if you want 3, then it's this much. And they're like, okay, well, we'll leave it then.
Yeah.
And she started packing up and spoke Moroccan to another lady who was just like behind us, but on her phone, kind of looking like a nobody. She was clearly the owner of the shop, or at least in charge of sales. Came back and said, well, actually, yeah, we can do a deal. But yeah, we can do that. It's like, okay, great. So mum bought like 3 soaps for about £4 or something.
And again, at this point, the guide was the other side of the shop. He was well away from the situation. So we bought the soap.
Ready to go.
Little look round. Where's our guide? The guide's talking to the sales lady.
Yeah, the guy's talking to the lady who was on her phone.
Yeah.
Who was like the boss lady. And it's like, that's the first person he's spoken to for this period of time. And it looked like they're having some kind of, not an argument, but an interaction of, like, yeah, but I want something. Yeah, but they only spent £4. She got her phone out, started showing him something on her phone, which I assume was like the cost, price, profit. Like, we can't get you, like, you're not taking any money from this because we got nothing out of this anyway.
All she bought were like 3 little things of soap.
Tiny.
What didn't cost much.
Yeah.
But, we can only assume from that he was
trying to get some profit.
He was trying to get his cut from the sale.
Yeah.
And then after that, he was a lot more disengaged, going through the motions.
You asked him a question about Fes, and the name and the Fes hat not actually being from Fes, like you read somewhere online.
Perfectly reasonable question, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, apparently I read this. I think it was more like a conversational thing because it went a bit quiet.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you were trying to fill in that gap.
Yeah.
And he sort of turned around and said, where'd you read this? Where'd you read this? I says, well, on the internet. And he went, I sort of huffed at you as if to say, oh, you're talking to somebody who's from Morocco and like you're an idiot. It's like, well, it's first in your country. I read something online. Like, what do you expect me to? Yeah. Sorry for trying to do some research.
Sorry, just a tourist.
Yeah, that really angered me actually. I was like,
he was quite sharp, really, wasn't he?
It's quite mean.
Oh, yeah. So kind of that soured then, and then it was more or less the end of the tour after that, wasn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. The only other place we went to was the tannery. We didn't buy anything from there.
We didn't buy anything from there, and he didn't seem. I don't know where he was. Again, he disappeared.
Yeah, he disappeared. He was talking to the owner.
Yeah. And I think we dashed his hopes that we weren't spending. And we had told him at the beginning of the tour we need to stop for money. And this is what I don't quite get. This is what doesn't add up. If he was looking to get cuts out of sales, which he takes us to people he knows, and
that's fair game.
Maybe
if that's
he
how
does.
it operates, then that's fair
the
game.
way it works.
Yeah.
Why not take us to get money out? We're going to be resisting spending money if we haven't got any Moroccan money in our pockets, which we didn't at that point, because one of the last places we went to was the exchange place.
Yeah. But at the beginning, he said, "Oh, if you need to buy anything, I'll buy it for you, and you can give me the money back."
Yeah, I know, but it's still perverse way to do it. Why not pack our wallets with money? And we're probably going to be more amenable to spend it.
True.
In my pocket, I have 50 quid of dirhams.
I wonder from his perspective, it was more a case of, if I'm spending money for them, then it might be like off by 10. So they'll just round it up to the
Maybe
nearest.
Take a little, yeah.
And he takes a little bit more of a slice on top.
Could be.
I don't know. That was my thought on it.
Yeah. And then lastly, we had to pay him.
Yeah.
For the tour, which we knew what it was in euros. We'd been told what it was in euros. I can't remember what it was now. 30 euros.
30 euros.
For the three of us, which is quite cheap really for 2 hours seeing the sights and whatnot. Plus he'd paid tickets for us to enter the madrasa, so we had that on top.
Yeah.
But we told him we don't have any euros. What is it in dirhams?
And he refused.
He wouldn't tell us what it was.
Yeah.
It was so odd.
And he knew all we had were dirhams.
Yeah.
He just goes, "Oh, it's just 30 euros." It's like, yeah, but what's that in dirhams?
Yeah.
Oh, he just was like, ignore. And he said, "I'll pay what you want."
Pay what you want.
It's like, right, well.
Here's a tenner, bye.
Yeah, basically, here's the almost the precise amount for the tour.
Yeah.
See you later.
That's what it was. And
it was the most awkward interaction.
Yeah, and the bizarre thing is, I suppose he doesn't know this, but if the experience had kept how it was at the beginning, we didn't have any of this weird stuff happening later.
Yeah.
I'd have happily given him a tip, like another €5 or even €10 if he'd smashed it.
Yeah, he did himself out of...
Which is probably more than he'd get from the cuts of the low item stuff we were looking at. So bizarre.
Yeah, very odd. So that was a bit of a sour taste.
Yeah, it was odd. And it was day 2 and, even going on the tour. Because I'd read everywhere that says, on your first day, get a tour, somebody to orientate you and show you the key stuff. So I kind of had that in mind doing it. Actually, I'd be tempted to say, do it towards the end where you're feeling less overwhelmed. Because I think we were all still in a sort of state of overwhelmed and
yeah.
For that to happen was a bit like, this is really odd.
Yeah. Plus the sights, the smells, I wouldn't say claustrophobia, I think I'd be going too far, but walking through the alleyways is an experience. And that's quite an overwhelming experience as well. Have that attached to being in a new place, not knowing where you are. It's quite a lot to take on, isn't it?
There's an element of culture shock, isn't there?
Yeah.
And the things we perceive as dangerous are not dangerous in the Medina. I mean, it seemed remarkably safe.
Yeah.
But you're still on alert, especially at first. One of the things that struck us was the groups of young men, typically, that just sort of hanging around, particularly off the main drags on the side streets, the places you're going to get lost, the places where our Medina was. First couple of days, I was on groups of young people. You're kind of, in our world, you're attuned to have some threat response, right? But then our Dar manager said, they're harmless. The worst they're going to do is try and give you directions and ask for a tip.
Yeah.
Or give you wrong directions and ask for a tip.
Yeah.
So just ignore them. By the end of the week, it's kind of exactly what we were doing. I mean, we were almost laughing with them when they were trying to tell us that the alleys were closed. And this
that way's closed.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Is it really?
Luckily, we knew where we were going by that point, so we could just sort of...
Just
about.
Yeah.
Just about.
It was an overwhelming experience. But like you say, as we got later on, you kind of just realise that they're just trying to earn a quick buck.
Yeah.
And actually, I mean, it's a heavily Muslim population there. You've got the calls going out regularly throughout the day. I just think that any kind of law breaking would be massively a big no-no.
Yeah.
And we'd heard actually from the guide or our personal guide that there's been a huge clampdown on basically tidying the place up, and they were doing loads of maintenance work, and they were building, and basically they're trying to sharpen up the Medina to bring in more tourism.
Yeah.
So if anyone was breaking the law, they'd probably get, everyone's in it together to bring more tourism, because that place seems like survives on tourism.
Oh yeah, massively. Tourism is big. I mean, the main big streets is mostly aimed at tourism. I think it's only when you go off into the alleyways you see these different areas. That's where the local population would go to get the different things that they need. But the two main streets that we did go on a few times was kind of a bit more of a mixture, more aimed at tourism.
Yeah,
we saw police as well.
quite a presence.
Yeah, in the sort of main intersections and that. I think mostly for reassurance. I don't know. I just didn't worry.
I think they were keeping tabs. Seeing how the shopkeepers are interacting with people, making sure people are staying in line was my impression. So if there's a presence going around, you can't really.
Yeah. And our dial manager said there were plainclothes policemen as well.
Oh really? Okay.
I don't know if there were.
That's good to hear. But yeah, it was an experience, and then we discovered that all the things that we were trying to sell, that were trying to be sold to us throughout that first tour, were extortionately priced in comparison to the side shops.
Yeah.
So Mum bought those soaps for like £4 or £6 or something, and they're like 20p a thing.
Yeah.
So she got it for like less than £1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the thing I learned is going on one of those tours at the beginning, fine, just don't buy a single thing because it's going to be cheaper somewhere else.
That's right.
They try to get you in first.
I think what they do is they've got people that are coming in, perhaps visiting Fes for a day as part of their Grand Moroccan tour, and that might be their only exposure to the Medina is with a guide doing that. So it's kind of a captive audience, you know. I mean, our guide knew that because he knew we were staying at the Dar, and I'm sure our Dar manager told him. Yeah,
he's still trying to try and get his
they're here for a week, so yeah. Or if you've got people that are just coming for like short trips and staying outside the Medina, then they might say, right, I'm going to the Medina for one day, so then I'm going to have my tour.
Yeah, we were basically staying in
in the thick of it.
Yeah, at a destination that you would see like on a whistle stop tour. We were staying in that.
in the thick of it, yeah. And it's a kind of living, breathing space. I mean, there was a group of kids that we got to know throughout the week that were playing football outside.
Constantly. Non-stop.
It was a lot of
and I'm not exaggerating. It was football from like 10 in the morning through till before it got dark.
Yeah.
Or even when it was dark. I don't know how they had the energy.
They just kept going, didn't they? Bless them.
Zaki, our host, was had a go at them a few times to basically say, like, once it gets to a certain time, stop. But yeah, I think they weren't going to listen to anyone. No.
Yeah. And actually, we were playing football with them by the end of the week. So
having a laugh.
It's fun, yeah. We're leaving soon. That could be a problem for the next
Yeah, we'll encourage them now, and then we'll bugger off.
Yeah.
We gave them loads of snacks and treats and stuff before we left. So
we did. We want to give them money. I mean, they were kind of cheeky and say 1 dirham, take a photo, 1 dirham kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, which we just thought we don't give them money to kind of perpetuate that. But okay. A lollipop at the end of the week or whatever seemed
acceptable. Yeah, because even the first time we got there, I was holding my camera throughout the entire trip. I was taking photo and videos, and the kid said, "Oh, take a photo." Like he was encouraging me to take a photo to then ask for money.
Yeah.
So it's like, "Oh, this has been drummed into you clearly because this is part of the culture." You know, and there were some neighbours that we were eating lunch up on the terrace. Remember, there was those kids.
Yeah.
They're doing the same thing. Like you've got
playing rock paper
dirham?
scissors across the terraces, which was all really fun, and it was quite light-hearted, and they were giggling and everything, and we were all enjoying it. And then they're asking for money. I've interacted with you. Now you give me money.
I think they knew they were trying it on.
Yeah.
There was a bit of an
I really warmed to it. Honestly, once we got about halfway through the week and we got our bearings, I then felt a lot more comfortable. And then by the end of the week, I mean, our last evening out, we just went off. We were like, boom. And we kind of had this sort of liberal abandon to where we were going, and if we were getting lost, we were like, no, we're okay. We can figure this out now. We've got this.
The confidence.
And so we just sort of like, should we go down there? Let's go down there. Should we go down there? Let's go down there. And we found this really cool. It's called Henna Souk, which is a courtyard space with an ancient tree in the middle.
Oh yes,
Next to
that was on one of the last nights, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By that point, just felt so much super confident. I mean, if anything, I was like, oh, I don't want to go now. Whereas the first couple of days, I was like, what have I bought my mum and my brother to? Oh no, fuck.
I think I felt that way to begin with. I was like, what is this week going to entail?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? But I really did enjoy it. I'm glad we did it. Well done, bro. Thanks for organising it.
It was different, and I loved it. They definitely gave me a taste of Morocco, and I would love to go back, see some of the other cities. Although I've read that Fez is probably the nicest one in, but
was it Agadir, Marrakesh, and Casablanca?
Casablanca, Tangier,
Tangier,
and Rabat, which is the capital.
Okay.
But apparently Rabat's not very.
No. Okay.
But so I'd like to get some of the other places. It was interesting. And of course, it's like 3.5 hours away, so easy.
What I would do is recommend Zaki. In fact, if anyone's listening to this and wants to visit Fez in the Medina, you should contact a guy called Zaki.
Yeah, Dar Marimar.
Dar Marimar.
That's the Dar that he works for.
Can we share one of his emails or something?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't think it's a good idea to share his number.
No, probably not, just in case.
But what's his full name, I wonder? Dar Maridar.
I don't know if that was his full name.
No, it doesn't.
No.
Guy called Zaki. Anyway. Zaki Fez with an S, not a Z.
I mean, the sort of help they give there, it's like Matt wanted to go to the gym. And
he walked me to the gym every morning, picked me up.
There's no way we would have found that gym.
Yeah. I say every morning, it was twice.
But it was still good.
Yeah.
I got my hair cut in Fez. That was whilst you were in the gym, I was sat there being preened.
Yeah. But he was our host was absolutely superb, and I'd highly recommend hooking up with him if you're ever over that way, because I trust him. In fact, we joked, but kind of semi-seriously said if we are in another part of Morocco, you should come with us to basically make sure we don't get stabbed or killed or something or ripped off. I'd feel perfectly happy with him. Great guy. Yeah,
he came with us to Chefchaouen and the Blue City.
Blue City, yeah.
And it was kind of like, we want to do, because we weren't going to do the trip because it's 3.5 hour drive. It's quite a long drive.
Yeah.
But then he kind of said, you're going to stop here, you're going to stop there, and I'm like, okay, well, it's broken up. But are you available to come with us? So he joined us too.
Yeah. It's a nice trip.
Pretty cool.
That's one of the highlights, actually. I mean, we didn't speak about that, but that was one of the highlights going to that place. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I enjoyed the road trip as well.
Yeah, I did.
By the time we were going back, we were like sharing music stories, and he had a cousin that was on YouTube, and we showed him your music, my channel, and it was just a nice little vibe going back home.
And the drive was very good, very good driver. Smile.
Yeah, he was fun. Well, the last day he took us around. He seems to be one of Zaki's proteges. So, well, that's pretty much everything from Fez.
From Fez, tell us, have you been?
Yeah, have you been? Do you have any questions about it? Anything we said in this podcast? I did notice at the beginning of this podcast I said poor people. I didn't mean that as in a derogatory term. I meant that as kind of setting the scene of sort of just people.
The culture shock.
It's just the culture shock. Yeah. So for people that are going to write in and complain about me calling poor people, it wasn't that kind of thing I was going for.
And it's all relative, of course.
Yeah. So no, that was a good trip.
Enjoyable.
Thanks a lot for doing it, bro.
On to the next one.
Yeah, sweet. Where's next?
Well, let's go to Sudan.
Right. Fab. Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to this. Again, sending your messages. Where do they send the messages in?
Oh, is it still q@stillwandering.com? Wandering with an A, not an O.
That's the one.
q@stillwandering.com.
Fabulous. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.